All right. We're looking at a Keepstar here, ZXB. It's actually a strategic Keepstar. We'll probably go down undefended to PAPI forces, well, over 230 Titans in system in the next few minutes.
Spot, were you wondering about the Keepstar?
See if I can fix this angle here.
Yeah, other than the two Keepstars snuff killed, there was one other Keepstar on January 28th.
Where was that one?
One tax MEB.
Oh, yeah. NC Dot took that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Cause there was a month between the Keepstars because of the Christmas truce as well as the M2 battle.
I totally forgot about the Christmas truce and how everything changed after that.
Yeah, so the time is now out and guns are firing. So yeah, they're split up over two groups, fighter squadrons coming in. And the thing that, because of the electrical storm, like I said earlier, there is 0 cloaky ships on this grid because you can't cloak in this system. So every ship you see here is that way, so there's very low chance of bombing ones, anything like that.
It's about a 15-minute process.
I believe it's about 45 minutes total because it's a Keepstar structure. We'll have to see. It depends on the tie-dye as well. The more tie-dye that crews up, the longer it will take. I'm surprised they've got this many fighter squadrons out, given the already likelihood is they're hitting damage cap with the 200 Titans on field. So I would have thought they would have just only put out one fighter, but tie-dye seems to be just disappearing, so they may be able to have all of them out as extra.
This Keepstar is not in Fountain. It is in Delve. It is on the border, though, of Fountain. It being a border, Keepstar makes it very important because it's the entry point to Delve. But you can't jump from it, this system. You can't jump from this system into Fountain at all. You have to go through a gate. But the reverse is true. If you were to come in through Fountain to Delve, once you got into this system, you could jump all over Delve.
Yeah. As the war was beginning all those many months ago now, this Keepstar was thought to have been their escape route. So if we attacked from the south, they would escape to the north using this Keepstar. The same way that an initiative, when they retreated into Delve from Fountain, they used the Y-2 Keepstar because it is through the gate. They was able to then get into this Keepstar, and they based out of here for a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, that's the important strategic point of this Keepstar, and why it's not just any Keepstar. Although it is the first one, we expect about 8 or 9 more to fall in the next week or two. Actually, month maybe. But its important strategic value is that it is a jump point out of the region. So it's essentially one of the last escape routes for the Imperium, should they want to leave. Now, they've said they don't want to leave. They want to stay and fight in 1DQ. But this will make it so that they don't really have that option anyway.
So currently in system are 2 Goonswarm Alliance members. So I think it's fair to say that at least one of them will be gunning this Keepstar.
Yeah, so at least there'll be a gunner.
And one guy to load the ammo.
Oh, is that a real thing? You have to have somebody shoveling?
No, sorry,
Okay.
I was making it.
Okay. I was thinking like...
I'd love it if it was a bit more roleplay like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just making tea in the background or something.
Yeah, even with these Super Titans, like the Keepstar can't realistically threaten any of them, but he can hope for an opportunistic carrier or a mistake that could come in. So we have to see if there's any damage going out from it. Right now, I've not seen any doomsdays firing.
Yeah, I thought you knew something I didn't about moving stuff through cargo, like missiles or something. I thought, am I missing a mechanic? I have defended a Keepstar using a doomsday only, though.
Wouldn't that be an interesting mechanic if it took like 5 or 10 guys to use that thing?
Yeah, it was. I think it was very deliberate. They said it only takes one person because pauses weren't like that, right? You had multiple gunners. You could only fire a maximum of what your skills allowed, which were like 5. So if you had more than 5 guns, you needed more than one guy.
And, then people had to know what to actually do with it.
Right? And some guys would not man guns, but man E-War to slow things down, to grapple them, and prepare them for other gunners and stuff. So it was a little bit of a coordinated effort.
I remember those days fondly. Me and my corp, 5, 6 of us manning a pause just to try and keep the enemy pinned down, jamming our logi. Those were the days. Yeah, so to answer Jasper in chat, he asked if there's going to be a counter. There is a very slim to a negative chance that the Imperium will show up for this. Both with the system being jammed, 1,400 or 1,500 pilots already in system, and there is no chance for even bombers to set up bombing runs due to the electric storm. I don't think there will be really any kind of defense coming into it.
How in the world did we get a hype train going? That was quick and unexpected. Thank you. We're bringing you live coverage. Keepstar belonging to the Imperium, Goonswarm specifically in ZXB-VC. That is the border system to Fountain. This Keepstar is important strategically as it is a connection point on your way out of Delve. I believe there may be one more connection Keepstar in Aquarius, and that's it. Then there's no way out of Delve for supers except through asset safety or switching sides.
I wonder if in the next few months we may have to start actually saying Goonswarm, like Goonswarm Dot with the Parent Alliance now being back in active hands.
Oh yeah, that was big news actually. I think Lady Scarlet showed up last night, so that would have been about, well, just about 8, maybe 12 hours, 14 hours ago, and wrote that she had news and that Bob, that's the band of brothers. They're no longer together, but it was the same group, had captured the Goonswarm alliance name. And that is historically very interesting because one of the things that happened when Bob was destroyed essentially by a turncoat. Thanks again for that hype train, guys. I really appreciate that. One of the things historically that when the turncoat turned on Bob in favor of Goonswarm is that he was able to smuggle out or capture the alliance name. So Goonswarm owns the alliance name Bob, which prevented Bob from reconstituting as Bob, Band of Brothers. They reconstituted as Kenzuko. And they have never been called the same thing since. So the name Bob was prisoner. Well, the same thing happened with Goonswarm when Cartoon sabotaged their own guys. And the Goonswarm name went to Peanut Smash, who was in Pandemic Legion. So he held that for a long time. And recently, unexpectedly, the bill wasn't paid for ownership of that alliance name. And somebody snatched it up. And we'll try to talk to the guy that did that. It went to NC. Which is the home of a lot of Bob guys. And also Sir Mole is in there, even though he's not really active. And so they're going to give that to him. So it's a little bit of a yin and yang situation between Goonswarm and Bob, the forever war. Kenzoku, not Kenzuko. Sorry about that. So yeah, that is a piece of news that just happened yesterday. And for veteran players, that was significant. Not sure a lot of people understand what that actually meant.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, say, if that name is used for anything or if it is just held as a prisoner, as it has been for many years.
I was joking that it would be interesting to see a prisoner swap. Where they trade names. You can have Goonswarm back. We'll take Bob back. Thank you.
You never know what could happen.
Yeah.
You can get a Cribba to broker the deal.
Right. They have a statue of him going up. It'll be like his...
They do.
Yeah. His final reminder of what he did in the past.
There's a few other cool statues going up as well. Some Project Discovery ones, a few other things.
Yeah, so Nick Bison says they later changed their name to IT Alliance. That is correct as well. I think they actually went from Kenzoku to IT Alliance. Then IT Alliance kind of fell apart under its own weight, broke off, and the groups that were a part of Bob, that common thread of corporations, actually formed a group called 401k. It was called the Retirement Club, I think, and they stayed there for about a year. There was Raiden too. I think Raiden actually was before Retirement Club. And then eventually those groups all just ended back up in NC. All except for one called RKK or Reikoku. And they ended up in Pandemic Legion for a long time. Then very briefly they moved over to NC. So for a very brief moment, you had the four corporations that formed Bob inside of NC. But Reikoku was quickly kicked out because they were caught complaining about Vince's leadership. So they were booted, and they only recently have reconstituted and been seen to be active again. So we'll see what happens with Reikoku in the near future. By the way, go ahead.
I was just about to say, I just noticed that there's actually a pilot from Pandemic called A Hell, who is flying the Hell. Yeah, locals now sitting nice and firm at 1,520 pilots. So let's get a D-scan.
Yeah, another piece of a little bit of trivia is that IT Alliance was was a benefactor of the initiatives a long time ago, about 2010. So the initiative has been around a long, long time.
Currently on grid, we have 376 heavy assault cruisers, 219 carriers, 209 Titans, and 160 super carriers.
I see Elise Randolph talking there in local.
Yeah, Elise is in local. He's popped up a couple of times.
Elise, what's he doing?
He's trying to drum up support. He's trying to get people to sub to TIS.
Oh, look at him. Always working. Well, it's working because people are actually. We have a hype train going. I didn't even expect that.
Yeah, I just realized my subs went out, so there it goes.
He's out there with his hat in his hand trying to beg for some ISK.
He's like the carnival barker. Step right up.
What was that famous American sorry, once I find the name, you'll know who I'm on about.
Well, for those just joining us, we're watching the attack final timer for this Keepstar, which is a giant, space station, basically. It belongs to the residents of Delve, Goonswarm, and the Imperium, that coalition. And they are, and now have been for months, facing a fierce attack. This is the first Keepstar we've seen since one TAC SMEB, which was destroyed by Northern Coalition a few weeks ago. But in this case, it's a bit different because this is the first of many Keepstars that will probably fall in the next few weeks. You'll see one after another, Keepstars will come under attack. Well, whether they are defended or not depends on the Imperium. But it is, I guess it is expected they will not be defending these Keepstars. They're going to do a final stand in the system they're in now, their capital system of 1DQ. So imagine these are the forts on the outskirts of their town that are being destroyed over the next month while they guard the keep.
Yes, like these are the forts that guard the main roads in and out, leading away into the castle. E.B. Farnham, by the way, was the character I was trying to think of.
All right, since we don't expect any conflict here, we'll just watch this as it gets destroyed. But if you have questions or concerns, or if you want to talk about what you think is going to happen in this war from this point forward, we're willing to discuss what we know and take in what you guys know as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not have the correct graphic settings, so we will see explosion and stuff. Currently, my computer has absolutely everything loaded, maximum graphics, and it's because there's so much going on, it does have a little bit of a stutter.
Yeah, that is a ton of Titans. So how many Titans are needed to reach damage cap? Like, what's the minimum you would bring to destroy a Keepstar?
You can do it with, I believe, minimum is like 15 to 20. It's not very difficult to reach damage, the minimum damage cap. I don't think it's too difficult either of these Titan fits. But at any point, if there is combat, you want redundancy, so you want Titans that can be left. There goes two avatars bumping hard. You want as much DPS available. So during the M2 fight, there were designated Titan pilots or alt Titans that were kept on the Keepstar. So you just kind of want security, so you can over damage it easily. But if you have to pull damage away, you don't have to worry about not having enough to kill both the attackers and still complete your objective.
Right. So if you have a minimum of, say, 15 to 20 to do this work.
Yeah, I believe Snuffed Out and Low Sec had around about that number.
Right. They knew they'd be uncontested, or there was nothing that could kill that group of Titans deep inside of Empire space. So they were safe by regionality, I suppose. But here, you're out in the open. Your enemy has a force that is considerably deadly. So how many Titans were brought to this occasion?
Right now, there's around 210. But arguably, these Titans are far more safer than the low-sec ones because of the Cyanojamming system, as well as that with the electronic storm. There is nothing that can sneak up on these Titans. You can't have a cloaked ship warp in a Cyno because you can't cloak and you can't Cyno.
Oh, there's a metaliminal storm, an electronic storm?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the electronic storm is completely preventing all cloaks. The upside for these Avatar pilots, Avatars are notoriously bad for their cap. There's a 10% bonus to cap recharge rate, so they may even be cap stable Avatars.
Cap stable Avatars due to the storm?
Yeah,
that's funny.
During the M2 fight, as we saw on the stream, my Avatar when fight 1, I was doomsdaying and streaming it. I was constantly burning cap charges, even with just guns. The Avatar really does struggle for cap, but maybe not with the weak storm that's going on. So this is from the PAPI point of view. Because of the storm, I've had to use my main account to be safely tethered on the Fortizar and not have to worry about being hunted down by the many Pandemic Horde pilots that like to hunt me. As we're just seeing as well, some bumps going off in the centre. An Aeon and an Erebus had a disagreement.
These ships are so big, they collide, and there's a massive bump.
TT Weebus in the Aeon named Totally Not Stolen is going for a little trip.
You know what's interesting? These are all balled up like they normally are, but tomorrow, Fleet Formations comes into EVE Online Tranquility Zone.
Yes, that is a feature that I'm really looking forward to. There's already some theory crafting going on for battleships, smart bomb battleship doctrines that are already spread out perfectly for warping in on gates. You have a target that warps to 0, obviously, and as well as bombing runs, things like that are going to be so much different. It really is going to be good.
Yeah, this may be the last time we see Titans formed up like this.
I personally don't believe so. I think there'll still be times where this kind of spread, being as sporadic as it is, will be better than a formal spread.
Do you think this will be the tightest formation that you can have, the default one that we've been seeing forever?
No, I think it's just more... what I mean by that as well is that right now, to get a Dread Bomb into this group would be incredibly difficult because there's so much spread around them. With the fleet formations, if they uniformly spread, there will be points where you could have weak points in the centre because of how far things are spread apart, as well as obviously Titans being so large. With a 200-man Titan fleet, there's only so much space you have. So I think we may still end up getting clusters a lot of the time, just for the security, because the large number of these Titans aren't bumping, they are just all sat next to each other, whilst the game's not rendered that bump on yet.
Question from the audience, is this Helm's Deep?
It is not Helm's Deep.
Yeah, this is the border region with Fountain. It's the system is ZXB. So that is on the, well, it depends on what map you're looking at, but it's on the border of Fountain, and Helm's Deep is not on the border of Fountain. Helm's Deep at this point has completely been overrun by PAPI. They've taken all the iHubs. Test is holding all of those. I think a lot of structures in there are under attack or have been attacked and destroyed. Some very expensive satios, some building complexes.
Yeah. Right now, the only Goonswarm ownership of any iHubs is in the constellation OTAC EIMK, which is the 1DQ constellation. That is the only one that has Goonswarm iHubs in Delve.
Oh, I see. So you're saying they're really down to one constellation
Yeah,
now.
they are back down to they're down to just one constellation, and that is the 1DQ constellation. There are 7 systems total.
It would be easy to think that this war has really kind of fallen into the end game. It went from 4 regions down to 2 regions, down to 1 region. Now it's down to 1 constellation. And you could say, well, we must be in the end game now. But 1DQ is a fortress, and the Imperium itself is piled into it. So that's a lot. That's thousands of people in a fortress system. That is no small task. So that will take months to siege, but it will be like sieging a castle or a keep. It'll take a long time.
It's at this point where local goes mental, immediately spiking up to 1700, because the Keepstar is now low enough, as we can see on my camera. Everyone wants to get on the kill mail, myself included.
So explain that a little bit. When you're attacking a structure like this, it's a big payday as far as your kill board is concerned. You want this on your record that you killed something worth 200 billion ISK.
Yeah, my characters generally, I'm not a big care of the kill boards. It doesn't make me feel like I've done anything special, but whilst I'm here, I may as well. But it also gives us the ability to actually see how much damage it's got left to go, so it's currently at 9%. But a lot of pilots will initially, as well, during big Titan rules. I remember one many years ago, 2012, 2013 in LowSec. The server lag was so high that we literally, I burnt 50 jumps in an interceptor just to get in the system and get onto the Titan kill mails. So it is a very much an old style thing of people who liked to do just that. These days it's a bit different with tie-dye, but there are still groups that will run hunting for these kill mails.
Yeah, there were times when there were a lot of requirements, right? If you join a group, they want to know that you're active and doing stuff, and they're not watching you all the time, so they need evidence, and they look at your kill boards to see how much you've been killing, how many ships, how much ISK you've been destroying, and that's how they know to keep you or if you're dead weight. That was a bigger problem back in the past, but but the habits were formed back then to get on as many kill mails as possible. And what's interesting about this tradition, I suppose it's a tradition, is you don't want just the big ships that are doing all the damage to be the only ones on the kill mail. So there's a certain period of time where groups are escorted in to register their damage on the structure, so they count as well. And there's a lot of subcap players that don't have access to capital ships, so they are included in this process, and that's a way of keeping them motivated. Make sure they count, make sure it's in their history, make sure they were a part of it. It's a way of including them. By the way, when I was in NC.dot, a lot of times they would just kill things. They wouldn't wait for anybody because they just wanted to get through the stuff. So if we were burning down an area in dreads, it was like they're not doing any of that stuff. They're just burning.
Yeah. A lot of the time, there's very little pauses that go in when you're talking to the Keepstar size, but Keepstar says they pause, but for the other structures, they generally don't. It's like, oh, maybe on the CTOs, but more often than not, it's a case of, oh, there's just kill it and burn it.
Yeah, again, there's a strategic importance to this and a symbolic importance to this Keepstar here. One is it is one of the escape routes out of Delve should it be needed by super capital ships in the future. Once this is gone, this system will become extremely dangerous to pass through without the security of a Keepstar tether or dock. Also, it's the first of what we assume is going to be many Keepstars in the following weeks.
Yeah, I expect there to be a good few more Keepstars to fall, as well as the TOs, towers, Astro houses, as both spaces cleared, as well as the preparations are for the siege. So we're entering the last few percentage now, and we'll hopefully see a nice, pretty explosion.
Yeah, you're watching live coverage of the Keepstar in ZXB. The Keepstar belongs to Goonswarm, is under assault by PAPI forces. 230 plus Titans are shooting at it now. It's down to under 10%.
Yeah, a combined total of 350 super carriers and Titans on field over that number.
Yeah, our man Sully is watching he's the one running the camera from his client. Here's a question that's we'll start answering some questions here as we wait for this thing to explode.
I do believe there is the explosion beginning now.
Oh, yeah. You see the little flash points on the structures themselves? Those are internal.
The first thing I noticed was the Titans stopped shooting. So here we'll begin to see the Titans on the right hand side. Now that it's dead, they're immediately going to warp out to the Fort Azar, just up ahead above the sun. They're going to warp out, start to cap up, get ready to return out to their safe haven.
Well, that was under 30. That was like 30 minutes. So that was pretty fast.
We can also see if there's any red beam effects coming out. That's then jumping out, presumably back to T5Z. So it'll be pretty much objective complete. They will keep the time jam up in the system for a while now, whilst they begin to extract everything.
And there it goes.
I had a little bit of panic there. My client even went not responding. It was like, I don't know how to handle this.
You can already see some of the Titans starting to extract, it looks like.
Yeah.
Those are the flashes that look like meteors.
Yeah, the two economy ships that were inside the Keepstar did not make it out. They have been killed. They're in noob ships.
Sorry if I missed your questions. If you want to retype them, I will try to answer them. But we just witnessed the destruction of Keepstar in ZXB-VC. That is the border region to Fountain. On the other side of that gate from this system is YTAC 2. It's a very famous system.
So one thing to note is this Keepstar was not cored. The Imperium have been very careful about their coring of structures. So there was no Keepstar core dropped for PAPI in this situation. So they only got the structure killed and the salvage from the structure itself.
Now we're seeing a ton of Titans leave the scene. That's them jumping through jump portals that they create themselves.
Yeah. There'll be probably 1 or 2 Titans left behind to do bridges, but the large majority of them now are going to be all jumping out, as well as all the super carriers present as well. Their job in this battle today is done. They're going to go home, restock on their fuel, ammo, and be ready for the next timer.
All right, we'll try to, as they remove themselves from system after destroying the Keepstar, we'll try to answer some questions here. Some of them are pokey and fun questions, but we'll answer those too. For instance, Kayak asks, for sake of consistency, should CCP start their war-ending drifter event right about now? Couple of things about what he's referring to is in 2019 at around September. No, actually it was June. No, it was about June, I think. The Imperium moved north to attack Tribute and Vale, and they destroyed the region and cleaned it of Keepstars and structures. And when they were just about done with that, CCP decided to turn on drifters that would attack what we assume were random areas, but we assume actually that there was highly populated areas, including Goonswarms. Now, I was very, very close to that situation, and I watched as within the first few hours, incredible uproar of CCP interfering with player-driven narratives of war by turning on these NPCs that were attacking structures for the first time. And the Imperium decided, I think within 48 hours, to return back to Delve. So they ended up coming back to Delve. But the war was pretty much over at that point. There was no defense and hadn't been for days and days. I think that next on their menu was actually to destroy Mogul in high sec or low sec areas near the forge. Like that might have been what was next on the menu, if I remember correctly. So the war was definitely over. But they did come down, and within, I want to say 72 hours, the Imperium had figured out how to defend themselves against drifters. And so they decided to move anyway, since they had already told everybody they were moving. So I think that's why they continued to move. But the point is, they could have stayed north if they wanted to. It wasn't a war-ending move by CCP, in my opinion. Although the narrative is CCP ruined something, which I disagree with.
The kill mail has been popped up, and I've linked it in the chat. So that is the Keepstar kill from ZXB-VC.
All right. Thanks, man. Is there anything else to look at here?
No, pretty much. The freighters got out safe. So the freighter came in to pick up some of the loot as well. There's what the vocals. Yeah, everything's kind of winding down now. Just anything left of the bridge in Titans.
Well, thanks for posting that kill mail. I think there was a question I missed earlier about 1DQ. Is it assailable? Since the last time we saw everybody completely collide, we had over 12,000 characters that wanted to get into a single system to fight it out. And that system collapsed under the pressure, or the servers did. That was M2, and that led to a month or 2 month long disaster for the PAPI forces, and a win for the Imperium as they sat on top of PAPI in M2, camping them in. So the question is, if that happened in M2, what's to prevent that from happening in 1DQ?
Yeah, I think 1DQ, is going to have to be a lengthy siege. I don't feel like it's going to be something that will be done at all soon. So I definitely feel like there's going to be a significant amount of work going into it.
Yeah, from what we understand from things that PAPI leadership has told us, is it's going to be a slow and deliberate process, and it will be tenacious, but tenacious and consistent. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen slow in their eyes. I don't think you'll see a giant all at once event like you saw in M2. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is nobody knew what would happen when multiple servers were full to the max of capacity of players, right? 6,000. And now we do know that they literally time out and can't communicate with one another, and you create a ghost ship situation, which is very odd. So that was unknown before M2. Second, I think at the time PAPI and Imperium both wanted that fight. So PAPI was not interested in moving slow. They were actually moving really fast. They had, after, I guess it was the Christmas truce that you talked about, they moved in on iHubs really quickly, and they created the M2 situation really quickly. And they were going to attack that Keepstar. I did attack the Keepstar really quickly after Christmas. It was actually on the 29th that they attacked the first time, or actually the second time, and it was January 2nd when the second battle happened. So you can see it was only a few days or a week after Christmas. So they were upping the tempo. They wanted to fight, and they took that fight.
I was going to say, thanks for the raid, Oz. Nice raid of 110 people coming over to see the last remnants of the battle.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're about to wrap up because the Keepstar has been destroyed in ZXB-VC, the bordering system in Delve 2 fountain. That's the first Keepstar of many we think is going to happen over the next few weeks. To finish that point, people wanted M2 to happen on both sides. They were willing to take that fight. They liked the way the armor timer went as well because they traded evenly. And so both sides came out feeling victorious. That's something that Elise pointed out in our coverage. So the disaster that followed was completely one-sided. Imperium took out a ton of test and brave Titans, so it was a big victory for them. But that made PAPI say, we can't trust the servers for that sort of a fight again, so we're not going to take it. Probably. That's probably what's on their mind. So I don't think they're as hungry or eager for that kind of a fight, especially now that the Imperium Armada, let's call it the Titan Armada, is essentially holed up in 1DQ without a good escape route. This Keepstar that just went down might be the last or second to last Keepstar that's needed to be able to move Keepstars out using, move Titans out using Keepstars. So I believe GOP might be the last kind of a midpoint Keepstar that they could use. There's a bridge from a Titan avatars. So subcaps are going through that tunnel that he's opened for them. So that means that the idea of having to collide against the Imperium's Titan Armada isn't necessarily a priority anymore, because the only way that Armada gets out is asset safety, or it tries to move out all at once by itself, and then they're not going to have the benefit of tethering on structures that they can dock into. So it's a very risky proposition and probably unlikely. And it's also, the Imperium has said, their leadership, Matani, has said they want to fight to the end in 1DQ. So at this point, there's no reason for PAPI to want to have that collision, the scale that was M2. There's beautiful pictures of Titans bridging subcapital fleets out of the system.
Yeah, it's always safer to bridge out rather than to at the gates, because it's a lot quicker. The Titans are already here, and it is minimal fuel usage. As seeing there, the last fleets just had its bridge open up, so they'll be leaving very shortly, whilst there's a few stragglers getting left behind. Be interesting to see how the new Sinusoidal beacons come into effect from tomorrow, because I believe they are in tomorrow's patch.
Yeah, these are the actual devices that you can drop. You don't need to have a ship for a Sino anymore after tomorrow's patch. So look out for that.
You can deploy them, and they last, I believe it's 30 minutes in the fleet of the deployment. Yeah, but that'll be interesting to see if they're used in this fight, all of these situations, as well as, like you said earlier, fleet formations. So for the next Keepstar battle, hopefully we can get and see some beautiful fleet formations. I would personally love to see a Titan fleet of a smiley face.
Oh, thanks to Video Damaro Gaming. I think I said that wrong. He says GOP is still an exit point and F20Y is the last one. So there are 2 more exit points, or basically lily pad Keepstars that Imperium could use to try to get out of the area. They have said they're not going to leave the area, so it may be a moot point. But once those 2 Keepstars go down, and we expect them to go down soon, there is no exit that's as secure as it is now for them. And for those that are relatively new to EVE Online, these ships are too big to fit in any kind of wormhole or anything to escape that way either. So you literally have to have infrastructure set up for these giant ships to move safely through.
Yeah, they can leave the asset safety down, which does come at a significant cost for these Titans, especially. And that takes them to the nearest low sec, allowing freighters and things to escape via wormholes. But I don't believe the Imperium is planning any withdrawal. I think they are willing to fight until the last structure. The siege of 1DQ is going to be epic in terms of just the amount of Keepstars already there. So there is going to be a significant bloodbath going on. As you see here, we've got 2 apostles and a lonely avatar on the screen. There's also a Ragnarok and an avatar below. These are just the very last ships here, putting out those last stragglers before they head home.
So I think the things to look for in the next few weeks are a ton of structures coming down, headlined with some Keepstars every few days, maybe some in successive days. There is a timer board that has a list of the next 20, I think, or 12, sorry, I think there's 12. There are a lot of Keepstars in Delve, so this won't be something that is done this month. Maybe the end of next month, there might be a ton of stuff doing. I believe the plan is to eliminate as many structures as possible in Delve before the Assaultant 1DQ even starts. So it's going to be a lot of structures going down in the next month and a half, maybe even 2 months. And then we may see a siege start to really take priority later on. And that siege itself may take months. It's going to be incredibly difficult to defeat an entrenched Goonswarm, and sorry, not Goonswarm, but Imperium, because everybody's in there in 1DQ. Is the last Titan out, or is there still an avatar down there?
There's just one avatar. I believe he's either waiting for someone or he will be leaving momentarily.
All right. Well, we'll just close up and consider this stream done since the Keepstar has been destroyed and most of the Titans are out. Sully, thanks for showing us your camera view there.
That's all right.
And also thanks to the guys who are hanging out here in TIS Discord. You're always welcome to hang out with us at TIS Discord. It's a public place. And we will see you the next time we have some live coverage for you. This is Matterall and Sully for Talking in Stations on the occasion of destruction of a Keepstar in ZXB, the first of quite a few Keepstars going down in Delve. This one was undefended, and we expect the rest to be lightly defended, if defended at all. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.